So now that the Russian troops are gone, the press can finally get a closer look. But no matter what the Western press finds, Russian press is likely ready to say that what we see was either staged or carried out by an extremist Nazi faction within Ukraine. So how does the West help tackle this problem, especially if Russia can just create its own reality out of whole cloth and tell their people whatever they want? Joining us now is Alana Minkovsky. She's a Russian-American journalist who worked at the Russian state-run news agency RT America from 2009 to 2012. She also brings a unique insight into what's going on in Russia. Her mother is currently a member of the Duma, the Russian parliament. Alana, thank you for joining us tonight. Talk to me about this. Do you think the Russian people are going to buy the idea that neo-Nazi Ukrainians are trying to enact some sort of anti-Russian Holocaust?
Thanks for having me, Ollie. Well, of course, not all Russian people are going to buy this, are buying it. You do see small little moments of people still trying to protest in the quietest, most brave ways that they can, considering how dangerous it is to do there in that society right now. We've seen people putting crosses out there in order to honor the people that were massacred in Bucha. But at the same time, you have to realize that there is an informational vacuum in Russia right now, that the only real news that most Russians are seeing, except for those who go out of their way to get a VPN, who are seeking out that information, is coming from the official channels on TV, on radio. And those are the channels that are spreading these stories that you're showing that are terrifying and also baffling in how outrageous and outlandish the lies are getting. And yet these are coming from the official channels from the government. And so a lot of Russian people will believe them and will buy into them. And, the other thing is the more and more you hear something repeated, no matter how untrue it is, you might start to buy it. Mm-hmm.
So help me understand this, because certainly in America, we know no matter what type of news you consume or where it is on the political spectrum, you're aware that there's news from somewhere else on the political spectrum. And I'm assuming that's similar in Russia. So how are Russian people being sold on the idea that there was an independent press that just up and vanished?
Well, I think everything that you're seeing here has been part of a years-long effort, within Russia by Putin's regime to kind of normalize and prime the Russian public for what's happening right now. It starts with just this nostalgia for World War II, patriotism and bravery in Russia. That's something that has been nurtured. There have been these Victory Day parades. One is coming up on May 9th in Russia, that has kind of spawned the collective memory of what it was that the Soviet people did during World War II to fight back Nazis. And don't forget, 27 million Soviet Union residents or people were estimated to have died during that conflict. My grandparents took part in it. Every Russian has some relative family member that they can relate to there. So it's a real manipulation of this kind of collective memory to use that and then now start building this narrative of Nazism within the Ukrainian government. And so, it's just these kind of slow drips of information, of resentment against the West that I think have primed people to slowly start normalizing, accepting the dehumanizing and increasingly radical information that they're starting to get there. I don't know how you necessarily break through it. As I mentioned, there are still people who don't believe this. Perhaps it's a scary environment for them to talk about it, but they're using VPNs, they're accessing other information. So many young people that have grown up in Russia with access to the internet, with access to an independent media, I don't think that they're just going to forget that existed. But how to create a political environment where Putin's regime can still can be stopped in that way, by those people, I think that's the bigger question.
Alana, it is a big question, and we thank you for helping us at least get started in this discussion. Alana Minkovsky is a Russian-American journalist, and we thank you for your time tonight.